Come on in, people. Come on in. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to night 5, our final evening of ACFC Community Conversations for Black History Month, where we honor the past, face the present, and shape the future. These are a series of virtual discussions about racial equity across the sports and entertainment industries, from youth to the pros, on the field, and in front of the camera to behind the scenes. I'm your host this week and tonight, Angela Hughley's proud founding investor of Angel City FC and former U.S. national team member. And this will be a special discussion and group tonight, as it consists of members from a few different organizations that will be introduced shortly, who have all joined in partnership for the Anti-Racist Project. And this will launch after these discussions into ongoing support and action for communities of color in the soccer space. So to moderate tonight is someone who is definitely no stranger to the sport of soccer, and in fact, competed at the highest levels as an Olympian, Evan Whitfield. Evan is a founding member of SCORE and a partner at a prominent Chicago law firm. Whitfield is also working with Common Goal and the project lead for the Anti-Racist Project. He graduated from Duke University after playing 4 seasons and played 6 seasons professionally, 1 in Belgium with KAA, and 5 seasons in the MLS with the Chicago Fire and Real Salt Lake. Now with the Fire, Whitfield won the 2000 and 2003 US Open Cup, 2003 Supporters Shield, multiple conference championships, and was a 2000 and 2003 MLS Cup finalist. He also represented the United States at the 1999 Pan American Games, winning a bronze medal and earned 4th at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. A member of the Major League Soccer Players Association, he was elected to the MLSPA Executive Board in 2004. Post-soccer, he earned an MA in Organizational Management, and he lives with his spouse and 2 daughters. Welcome, Evan, to tonight's discussion. So great to have you here.
I appreciate it, Angela. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's been a long week and an exciting week, and we launched the project, and I'm excited to be speaking to you and to our partners on the Common Goal Anti-Racist Project.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's great to have you here, and we appreciate everything that you've been doing. And, you know, I'd love to take a moment really before you introduce our panelists, if you can just share a little bit more about your story, and let's specifically talk about one specific moment in time, maybe your breakthrough moment that's really brought you here to this discussion tonight.
Hard to pinpoint one specific time, but I think that most recently, as with a lot of us, after the lethal policing and the murder of George Floyd, I had been working, or I'm still working at my law firm in Chicago, and I was particularly troubled by the silence of my white legal colleagues. And I penned an op-ed in the Chicago Daily Law Bulletin just about the complicity that comes with silence. And when I read that piece I wrote, I realized that I had also, as a Black person and a biracial person, been quite silent for multiple reasons. And I just brought it upon myself to kind of reach out to the community and reestablish some connections with people like Tony Sana and Eddie Pope and people I played with back in the day. And that brought me to wanting to do something in soccer. And that's why we're here. We're here with Common Goal. We've put together a coalition of all the different levels within the soccer landscape to actually move past the protests, move past the demonstrations, and put together some sort of action-oriented plan to address the systemic racism and inequality in the game.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think, when I first found out about what Angel City was doing for this week and also just this initiative, for me, we have Black History Month, right? And it's this kind of condensed period of time in which we're honoring and celebrating Black history, but what are we doing the rest of the year? And so I think that's what really excites me the most about what this project is doing. So please, without further ado, introduce the rest of the panelists.
Certainly. We have a great group of panelists, all extremely accomplished. And to your point, everyone on this panel is an initial partner with Common Goal, and equally as important, they represent the different strata within soccer. I'll start off by introducing Tony Sana of the Sana Foundation. Tony was a founding member of SCORE. He was one of the most prominent soccer players of his generation, a Minnesota native. He played 17 years professionally, including the 2002 FIFA World Cup in South Korea and Japan. He has 2 Major League Soccer championships with DC United, multiple UEFA Champions League appearances in the Bundesliga with Hertha Berlin. While playing, Tony created the Sana Foundation to leverage the unique power of positive development to create opportunities and social change for underserved youth from low-income families and communities. He is the CEO of the Sana Foundation, which provided the base curriculum for the Anti-Racist Project. Tony, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this incredible group, and it's nice to come together collectively to try to make positive change.
Super. Next panelist is the technical director from Oakland Roots SC, Jordan Farrell. Can pop up for us. How you doing, Jordan?
Doing all right, Evan. How are you?
I'm well. Jordan's a native of Stockton, California. He was named Roots technical director ahead of this 2021 USL season. Farrell first began with Roots as the assistant coach in 2019 and moved into the head coaching position in 2020 season. Farrell led the Roots to the NISA Fall Championship final, finishing as the runners-up. And prior to joining the Roots, he was the head coach of the Sacramento Republic's Academy. As technical director of Oakland Roots, Jordan now focuses on developing players and creating a consistent approach and style across all of the club's technical efforts, from their youth relationships, from Project 510, all the way to the Oakland Roots first team. I appreciate having you on the panel tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. The next esteemed panelist is the founder and president of Angel City FC, Julie Ehrman. Hey, Julie.
Hey, Evan.
Nice to meet you.
You're going to read my bio, and I just want to stop you because it's so unimpressive compared to the people that you started with. Like, next time you have to start with me and then build up versus like roll down the hill.
Fair enough.
We will at least say that I am smart enough that I got Angela Hucles to be an investor in Angel City FC because she is incomparable and amazing. We'll leave it at that.
Okay. And we all have a part to play in this, right? Which is one of the cool things about the coalition with Common Goal. And you certainly, Julie, have, I'm gonna go with your recommendation and not go through your bio, but you're an extremely accomplished business person. And we thank you for being on the panel tonight, representing executive level and ownership.
Absolutely.
Next, we have Andre Reynolds from the Chicago Fire.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, I'm good.
All right. Andre Reynolds II is a defender for the Chicago Fire. He signed a homegrown contract in January of 2019 as the 12th homegrown player in the club history. He was the first to sign from Chicago and is the second youngest player ever from the Chicago Fire. Reynolds joined the first team after spending 4 seasons with the academy system. In 2019, July, he made his professional debut, playing against Cruz Azul in the 2019 Leagues Cup quarterfinals. and he made his professional debut in the league in 2020. Congratulations, Andre. Happy to have you today.
Yeah, thank you. And then also, I just want to say for myself and on behalf of the Fire, we're super excited to be partnering with Common Goal, and we're excited to be making a difference.
I appreciate that. And certainly, last but certainly not least, and none of us would be doing any things that we're doing without the fans. We have Donald Wine, who is representing the American Outlaws. How you doing, Donald?
I am doing great this evening. How about you, Evan?
I'm well, thanks. Donald is the in-stadium chair for the American Outlaws, which is the largest supporters group for the U.S. national teams. AO has over 30,000 members across 200 chapters. Donald's a native of Michigan and a graduate of Duke University. Go Devils. He also is a lawyer who graduated from University of Miami School of Law. He practices in Washington, D.C. He is a co-manager of Stars and Stripes FC, SB Nation blog that focuses on U.S. national teams. And he also hosts 3 podcasts focusing on soccer and college basketball. That is the entirety of our panel tonight. I welcome you all. Thank you for being here.
Good to be here.
So much like Angela started with me, I want to go through each of you in the panel, and if you could just just identify, briefly or not, a seminal moment in your life or from history or more recently that has, activated you in this moment of time to want to become proactive and create change. Tony, I know you very well, and I know your story, but could you share with us what has brought you here this evening to partake in this?
Besides you?
Yeah, right, exactly. Besides me.
Well, I think, people ask me, are things getting better? I truly believe that they are. But I think with social media, we're understanding and realizing, more people realize what's going on. And so to be silent is complicit. I think a lot of times, when people reach prominent areas, they're worried about stepping out of the box or, what they have to lose. And now it seems like a time where everybody's trying to support each other. And so I want to be part of the solution, and I have a voice, and I need to use it. And I think through my lived experiences, I can help make change, and that's why I'm here, and I'm happy to be here.
Nice. Julie, how about you? You've invested a lot of money, and you've started Angel City, and you have a specific part of your mission that speaks to the inclusivity and building diversity. What in your life brought you to be the person you are and here in this panel today?
It probably goes to how I was brought up. My mom's a teacher. If I think about what describes her, it's loyalty and giving back, specifically how she gives back to the family and then gives to the community around her where she can. So it's always been something that's important to me, but it's never been an opportunity to combine my work with the idea of adding purpose to it and giving it back. And with Angel City from the beginning, it wasn't an option. We wanted to build an organization where mission and capital could coexist. We came together because Natalie Portman, the actress and activist, wanted to make a difference. She heard a talk by Abby Wambach talking about how retirement for female soccer players was so significantly different than retirement for male athletes. And Natalie started asking the question, why? And she would go home and she would see her son wear a jersey for Messi one day and Rapinoe the next, and LeBron the following. And like, her son didn't know the difference, like treated them all as incredible athletes, but she also recognized the world didn't look at it that way. And after she stopped asking why, she started asking, how can I help? What can I do to make a difference? And she started by building awareness for the U.S. Women's National Team and building awareness for their pay equity fight through her involvement with Time's Up. But then decided if she really wanted to make an impact, she had to have a seat at the table. She had to have a seat at the table. And I was so fortunate to be brought in to take this vision of combining mission and capital together and really challenging the idea of how do you bring a professional soccer club to the world? How do you bring any professional sports team to the world in a different way? And we're doing it by leading with purpose and passion. And Natalie inspired me. My mom inspired me. Angela, our owners, our supporters groups, and our youth, challenge me every single day to make a difference. And that's what we're doing.
Oh, amazing. Donald, as the in chair of the AO, what brought you to partner with Common Goal and this anti-racist project, and why is it important to you that we are publicly addressing and attempting to make change regarding inequities in soccer?
Well, it's been something that we've had to experience as fans as well. I know the players, executives have all had to go through it, but I mean, fans, we go through it in the stands, we go through it in regular life, and we carry the burden just like, everyone else does. But for us, we wanted to be a part of the change that we see in this world. Like, last summer was a poignant moment in our country's history, not just sports history, anything. It was a moment. And I felt like at that point there was anger, exhaustion above all, and just that emotion that surrounded all of the events following George Floyd's death. And I wanted to channel that into something that would make a difference. And the best way I can do that is to make the difference in the community that I'm a part of, and that's soccer. And with the American Outlaws, we are a big part of that community. We're always in the stands. We're always loud. We're always boisterous. But as supporters groups, not just AO, but all supporters groups, we want to be the example. We want to lead by example. And shout out to Angel City's groups, Valkyries, Mosaic, and Rebellion 99. They've been starting that conversation this month with some of their chats. I know Black Fires for the Chicago Fire has been doing the thing, and Oakland Roots has been, at the forefront of all this. So we have supporters that are involved, and already we have supporters who want to become involved in this. So that's the thing. This is the start of what could be a very big thing that can change the game in many ways. And we wanted to be a part of that from the start.
Nice. Jordan, how about you? Anything in particular that you want to share with the group that activated you to with Oakland Roots seek out to join the Common Goal initiative to join this anti-racist project to make change?
Yeah, I mean, most everybody's familiar with our Chief Purpose Officer, Mike Geddes, who's a genius when it comes to connecting and really utilizing sport in this way. So part of, when we joined Common Goal, I think we asked, hey, what is it, right? And as he was going through the process of expounding upon all the things that they were doing in the world, this was also happening in live time, right? During that period of time. My experience just growing up as a Black man in America is similar to others. And I think with Common Goal wanting to address the things that plague society, it seemed right, obviously within our organization, and especially being in Oakland, which has been a home for combating racial injustice and injustice of a multitude of types. We leaned into it. We leaned into the moment. And it was something that I think the conversations were probably had in a different way because of the stoppage of COVID, that initial portion of the pandemic, which was a great opportunity. It was a great opportunity for us to have real conversations about what lived experience is like for people that look like us. And also the flip side, because, my mother is white, my father is Black. So I've always had that perspective of, hey, people see what's happening from different lenses, right? And they bring their lived experience to it. And then obviously with Common Goal, it was an opportunity to bring this to a global level, not just within what we believe, which is our responsibility to our community in Oakland, but to the global community, society, as well as the global soccer community, in a way in which we can not only talk about not being racist, but actually build a tool to teach people how not to. Because I've done a lot of these talks over the course of the last couple of months, and even the last couple of years, and people always ask, well, what can I do? Well, now we have something that is actually a tangible tool to teach people maybe about their own bias, maybe about how they can improve their relationships with people that they really do care about and really do want to understand better. But now this is here. So it's not just talking about it, but it's actually a tool for creating a better society.
No, outstanding. So well said. And finally, Andre, the youngest person on the panel, and I am particularly interested in what brought you here today. And I think that you're active in Black Players for Change, and it's hard enough being a professional in in any realm, especially sports. It takes a great amount of concentration and focus. What brought you here today to kind of split your thoughts on that and your time and your energy to highlight the need for addressing these inequities?
Yeah, for me, having grown up in the inner city of Chicago, having grown up in the Chicago public school system, I've seen firsthand what racial inequality looks like. And I feel like as a person with my platform and a person in my position, I feel like this is a great opportunity for me to actually make a difference. And I feel personally that if I didn't, it would be irresponsible of me. And as for the fire, we put out a statement last year that we were going to actually make a difference, not just say we were, but actually go out and make a difference in the community and make an impact. And this is a part of it. So I'm super excited. I'm super happy to be a part of the fire's vision and the fire's plan to actually make that happen.
That's great. Thank you. Going back to Common Goal and what the Anti-Racist Project is, I think Jordan and Andre and all the panel members touched on little bits. This is a tool, right? This is a tool to help address the racial inequities that we find in the soccer landscape. And, like a lot of DE&I trainings that we may have experienced in our jobs or in education, this certainly will be that. But to Jordan's point, this also will be something a little bit more. Not only just awareness and education, but also a toolkit to provide people the necessary tools to take back to their respective spheres where they have influence and create anti-racist policies, make decisions to make the game look and reflect more like what America is. One of the other unique things, besides being a coalition of different clubs and individuals working together on a common project, the other really unique thing about the Common Goal Anti-Racist Project is the fact that we are addressing this issue from the many levels of the game within the soccer landscape. So we have fans, players, coaches, and administrators. We know from the lack of change in the past that doing it in one area is not enough. So again, I appreciate the partners who are on the vanguard here to internalize this message and address it at all the different levels within their respective organizations. The next question I have for the panelists is, again, I just want to we have different people here representing the different levels. And I'll start off with you again, Tony. As the CEO of the Sana Foundation, can you talk to us a little bit about, and we did a panel last week where you talked about the difference between soccer globally, as in who plays it versus in America, right? You recall that? And can you talk to us a little bit about, how can we ensure that the American soccer landscape brings more Black and brown people into the game, and then more importantly, assists them and supports them that they stay in the game?
Right. Thank you. Well, this country, I believe it was not meant to be a patriotic sport when we invented all of our own sports. And so what ends up happening here is it's the only country in the world where low economic people in the class aren't playing soccer. It's been an elitist sport here. You have an intersection of two things, right? It's race and economic status. So, for it to really grow, we need to invest at the grassroots level. And I say it the same thing about the women's game. you can say everything you want about marketing or this or that, but when you market a game around a certain individual and promote it for 200 years, that's who the fans are going to be. So if you really want to change, you have to intentionally not only sell it to a different group of people, but give them opportunities at a grassroots level and broaden the base of the pyramid, and then make sure it's an inclusive environment. So when they do play, they're celebrated and they enjoy it, and it's something that they want to do. So we need to invest in our people. We need to overinvest in equality if we want to make change, and otherwise it's sort of like lip service.
Yeah. Not to put you on the spot, Andre, we talked about this in the pregame, but again, you just came up through the elite academy system in Chicago, and I'm here in Chicago as well, and I see who plays soccer and who doesn't. Do you have a perspective on how welcoming is the game to Black people from your experience?
Yeah, I'll say this. Growing up, there weren't too many players who I played with or played against who were Black or who looked like me. So I definitely think it's something we could really use a lot of work on. One thing that Tony didn't touch on that I really find important is even coaching. Finding coaches that young students, young kids can look up to and that they can relate to. So they're not shied away from going into the sport. Naturally, as humans, we're going to be attracted to things that welcome us, and people who are from the same areas as us, grew up with the same struggles as us. So finding coaches and other role models who are of Black descent, I think is a really important step for getting more Black players.
Yeah, I mean, even me personally, and Jordan, I'm going to come to you next as a technical director and as a coach. But to your point, Andre, I mean, when I was playing, youth soccer, whatever, over 20 years ago, I agree. I mean, I was in Glendale, Arizona. It was a very homogenous area, but I was lucky to, my very first coach was South African, a mixed, the gentleman they called colored back then. And that wasn't hugely important to me. So I definitely hear you. When you have a coach who looks like you, it's something special. But to you, Jordan, as a coach, as a technical director at Oakland Roots, how important is representation, do you think, for players?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And to Andre's point, growing up, I grew up in Stockton, which I think by some accounts is the most diverse city in the country, right? And the only people who I saw that looked like me in soccer were usually immigrants, usually from Nigeria or Senegal, friends of mine that emigrated. My dad was an American football player. So I grew up around Black Americans that played football, ran track, played basketball, that type of stuff, but not soccer players. And it was like, if you're Black, you don't play soccer. And that was the whole thing really all the way until I got into college, where it really started to change. As far as the representation, it's, I think, one of the most important things. Number one, having somebody who sits in the coaching seat, who understands where you come from, how you see the world. And, as I mentioned, when a lot of the events actually happened, meaning George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all of that, I was able to have as a Black man, I was able to have a much different conversation with my locker room full of guys than I think any other coach could have. Right. I was able to share my experience with police and my experience with other aspects of society that these guys are navigating on a daily basis. And that wasn't sympathy. Right. It was very clear. Hey, let me one up you, but this is real. I have experienced it and I know what you guys are going through. And then I can also help the others understand what you're going through. So I think that's really, really important. The other part is it's really important in terms of decision making. You know, one of my reasonings for stepping off the field, I've been a coach for I thought I would only ever be a coach, right? Because I love training, I love tactics, I love being on the field and whatnot. But when I looked at it, and last year as a head coach, I was one of 2 Black American head coaches out of 82 jobs in professional soccer in the United States, men's soccer. Now, as a Black technical director, I'm the only one. And I think that there are really important conversations being had at this level, that people who are very open-minded, but just don't have the background and understanding, the lived experience to be able to make wise decisions about equity and about equality and how we move those things forward within our game. It's important that we have people sitting in those seats to help make decisions, to help give different perspective to people who might even be very well intended, but just don't have that perspective. And so the more people that we have, as we've seen with other sports, that as they're growing their front office they're growing their front office to represent the actual people who are on the court or on the field, you're starting to see different decisions being made, much better decisions for the sport and much better decisions for our society as well.
Yeah, you know, opening this question up, just I'd be interested to hear whoever wants to share, you know, and I'll pick on Major League Soccer. You know, Major League Soccer, I think 2 Black head coaches out of the 27 teams. Most recently, we just lost Thierry Henry. He left Montreal for personal reasons. I agree with everything you're saying, Jordan, and the representation is important, but what can be done? You know, you're a technical director, you're a coach, you work in an organization, same thing. Julie, you're an owner, right? Andre, you're an employee, right? You play for these people. Tony, you've been in all levels of the game. Angela, you know, your professional experience as well. What can we do to be intentional about increasing the number of Black and brown coaches and women coaches who are Black, brown? You know, NWSL has no Black women coaches, right? Any thoughts from Donald as a fan? Any thoughts from the group on what could specifically be done? How can we be intentional about making the coaching trees more diverse?
I think
for me, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Go ahead, Julie.
Well,
Julie, go ahead.
Because it's really top of mind for Angela and I, because we're in the process of building out our soccer operations side of the house. And, you know, we do think about diversity and having representation, not only on the pitch, but, you know, to the coaches that are going to support them. And then the development staff around them, because we believe in supporting the entire player, not just the soccer part of the player. And I was having a really interesting conversation with a female coach, Amanda Cromwell, who happens to be an investor in Angel City Football Club and is the head coach of UCLA. And I asked her about her first coaching job and how did she get it? And she said, you know, I wasn't qualified. She said, I wasn't the best candidate they had by far. And she goes, and the challenge that we have today is that, to your point, you know, if you're going to bet on a woman or maybe bet on African American or Hispanic coach that may just not be the best candidate, you have to look at potential. She said, I got the job because they believed I had the potential to be the best and to provide as much impact as someone who, you know, was 100% qualified, right? Who had done it before. And there's a risk in betting on potential, right? Versus betting on, you know, someone who's done it, you know, time and time again. And if you keep betting on people that have done it time and time again, the world's not going to change. And so what we can do, and there was actually a question in the chat from Rachel about this, which is, I think we have to become, you know, less risk adverse, and we have to bet on potential and support those individuals with, you know, the resources and the tools and the people to help them be successful. And that's something that we believe in at Angel City, and I hope we're going to see that as you see us sort of make announcements and build out our team.
That's great. Donald, you had a point to make?
Yeah, I think for me, the one thing is that we want to make it where diversity and inclusion are at the forefront of everything that we do, not just hiring, but everything that goes into, from our standpoint, from the fans' perspective, from the business standpoint of operating the team and catering to all of these different communities, making everyone feel like that they have a home at whatever team that you're representing or that you're supporting. And I think that has been lost a little bit because people go for the numbers, right? They say, hey, representation may matter, but you have a couple guys on the team. You have a few Black players on the national team. You have a few Black coaches. You have Major Danita Johnson, who just took over as president of DC United, the first Black woman to be an MLS president in the history of the league. It's 26 years. We got one, right? No, we don't have. Like, the idea is not to get the numbers. The idea is to make it that representation, diversity, and inclusion become the central focal point, and that is always present in the room. Everyone always has a seat at the table. Every perspective has a seat at the table. And every decision that a team does, every decision that a supporters group does, make sure that equity is there. And I think some teams have lost that in going for the numbers. And I think the idea is to push towards making sure that the representation is there. And representation doesn't necessarily have a number, but when you look back and you look at your front office, or you look at your ownership group, or you look at your supporters group leadership, you want it to reflect the membership base that you are seeking. You want it to represent the America that we live in and the world that we live in, because the world is way more diverse than what we're seeing in these boardrooms and in these leadership positions.
Yeah. Tony, did you have your hand up?
Yeah.
Preach.
So, I was, a couple things, and to what Julie said is, I do think we have to be intentional. And, we have a program where we, hire young women, mostly refugees, and they coach all year round, and they get paid to play and to coach. So we have more women leaders in it. The only thing that I disagree with Julie's statement was when we say somebody is more qualified. Our whole definition of being qualified is what's wrong. I mean, there's a lot of MLS coaches that are going to get a second look at the job because somebody made an accident on them the first time. So when we look at qualifications and what it means to be qualified, I think that's what we have to be able to reimagine, right? And sometimes, in my current job, as I look to build a diverse staff, and you have the traditional posting of the things and sending it out to the, well, that's what America looks like. So you're going to get the same candidates, right? But are you walking the streets of the neighborhood? Are you calling your friends? Are you talking to people at church, right? Are you spreading the word of mouth? Are you meeting people? There's a lot of people that you meet that you just know that they're going to get the job done, right? But what does qualified mean, right? That they got a resume, that they played college somewhere, so I think we need to change the definition of what it means to be qualified, right? Qualified means that you're going to be successful at the job. It has nothing to do with your past, right? And so if we can reimagine what qualified means and then be intentional by investing in populations at an early age. And at our organization, I mean, it's not perfect. We have 26 languages being spoken there. So, but we find ourselves in a case where it's more about gender equity. So we're going overboard, and I don't want to use the word overboard, but we're being very intentional about investing in the growth of our young women, because that's where we see the shortfall in our organization. And I think we need to do that with all diverse populations in this country.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I think that, and not to pick on your word choice, Julie, but we do talk about this a lot, this idea of what a qualified candidate looks like. And I almost feel like it comes from like a deficit lens, as if the people who aren't getting the positions have some sort of deficit, like the coach from UCLA you were talking about, right? She didn't have a deficit. She had a soccer background. The only thing, she just hadn't coached, but she had the playing experiences and the personal experiences and the leadership qualities to be that person, to do that thing, right? And especially with Major League Soccer, it's only, Donald said it's 26 years old, like it's this old thing. It's this new thing, right? And NWSL, same thing, USL. These are young organizations. And let's not forget that the people who are the best coaches today in Major League Soccer, in 1996, they weren't qualified, right? These were people who sometimes didn't even have collegiate soccer careers, right? But they were leading gigantic organizations and winning cups with Tony Sana on their team and Eddie Pope and whatnot, right? So I just find that to be an interesting point, everyone, that a reimagining of what is qualified, because yeah, just I don't know if there's any thoughts on that at all or not. Or I can move on. Jordan?
Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah. Two things. One, to Tony's point, and the whole point about qualifications. If you look at my resume, you wouldn't say that I'm qualified to be a technical director in the USL, but I'm very fortunate to work for an organization that has owners and leaders who have said, look at the criteria for the job and look at his abilities, and look at also, and I think this is to Julie's point, which is the potential, right? Growth potential is something that within jobs, quite often people are overlooked. Young coaches can maybe not have coached at a high level, but their potential, if they're put into the environment, and Julie made a really good point about the support around these people. It's not just, can we hire a Black coach or a female coach, but can we set them up for success? Can we recognize what maybe they are deficient in, experience or whatnot? I obviously, as a head coach last year, I didn't have a lot of professional experience. So my assistant coach was somebody who had years and years and years of professional experience, and it gave us very good balance within our staff. What we've done here is to try to look at where the strengths and weaknesses of each individual within the staff are, so that we can have this diverse array of people. And again, diversity, it doesn't mean that you're going to get everything in one person, but by having a diverse group of people that all complement each other, those pieces to the puzzle come together and everybody elevates. So now you have somebody with very high potential that you can put into a role, and you can provide resources for them and provide a pathway for them, and then really challenge them, and they will meet the challenge. They will oftentimes exceed the challenge if you really create the environment for them to be successful.
This is a great conversation. I'm really enjoying myself, and I want to make sure I hit Andre and Donald on the other levels, representing the players and the fans. So Andre, I'm kind of interested in, we know the players have been so amazing this summer. The women's players, the men's players, MLS, NWSL, USL, NFL, WNBA, like the leadership from on the field and the court has been outstanding, right? From the Black players in particular. But being in the locker room, I'm just interested, what is it, what's going on with the conversations as far as, specifically in Major League Soccer with your white teammates or your Latino teammates? How are they feeling about this moment in time? How are they talking to you about it?
For me personally, I've actually had a very good experience. Our culture at the Fire is one that's always willing to learn. For example, most of you guys probably know CJ Sapong. He's very active in making a change and with the Black Players Coalition. Me and him had plenty of talks with guys throughout the team who were more than willing to put their name out and put their stance on or put their input on how they feel about things, and actually go out and make a difference, like I said, versus just, being like, yeah, okay, we stand in solidarity, sure. We had conversations with our captain, Francisco Calvo, guys throughout the team, and even in the higher positions, so coaching staff, formerly Nelson Rodriguez, who was the GM, and everybody's been on board. So for me, it's really encouraging to see how the players have been reacting, and how willing they are to actually put themselves into our position and make a change.
That's great. And then Donald, none of us, again, I said this, I think at the beginning of the hour, none of us would be here if it weren't for the fans, right? That's why we play the game. Again, American Outlaws, 200 chapters, I think around 30,000 members. I assume or presume the fan group is diverse as America is, with teachers and doctors and construction workers and Uber drivers and all those things. What do you see the fans' role in combating racism?
Well, I think for us, for all fans, we have to push, we have to learn, we have to relearn in some cases. In some cases, we have to unlearn, because the societal norms that we see that kind of contribute to this, we experience on the daily. Like you said, we experience them because we're Uber drivers, because we're teachers, because we're doctors, lawyers, and all walks of life. We come from different backgrounds. We come from different cities where, I grew up outside of Detroit. Like, my experience may be similar to Andre's, but it's not the same. And we're not a homogenous group because we all have those different perspectives in life. And it's about having those difficult conversations and making it where people say, hey, I got your back. And that, sometimes is mixed, because some people don't want to have those difficult conversations. They don't have to. They don't have they have the luxury of stepping back and saying, I don't need to be a part of this. I don't want to walk into the difficult. When for some of us, it's a difficult conversation every single conversation. So we have to, as fans, we walk into it because in the stands, we're, going deep in supporting our team, no matter what team you represent or what team you're supporting. But you also want to know that they'll have your back in life, like we have the back of the players on the field. And sometimes that doesn't pan out. Sometimes, and I've experienced that a lot over the last few months. There's people who I consider friends who I kind of are like, they don't support me as a person, as the situation that I and other Black people are going through. They don't support that. And because they don't have to, they're in a portion of their life where they don't have to deal with that. But thankfully, we have a bunch of people who are saying, even though I don't have to deal with it, I'm in it with you. And I think that's where all of you guys have, like the players, they want their fellow, teammates to have their back. You guys want fellow executives to have your back. This is something where we can't do by ourselves. And even this group, this panel, we're not going to take on racism by ourselves. We are going to want the support and the backing of everyone out there, everyone who's watching, everyone who's not watching. We want to have that backing, because the bigger this coalition gets, the stronger it gets. And that is how this momentum goes. But for supporters, it's something where we have to be the change that the players want us to be. And it starts with ourselves. It starts with pushing our teams to do better. It starts with pushing, in our case, pushing the federation to do better, and making sure that these things are at the focal point of what they do going forward, because right now they're not. And we want it to be where Andre doesn't have to take time out of his day to meet with the Black Players for Change, because they've done a lot, and they've already done so much. And really proud of what BPC has done, Black Women's Player Collective, and the USL Black Players Association. Those guys have been instrumental in this change, transcending sports. But they shouldn't have to do that. The weight shouldn't be on them. As supporters, we're saying to them, we got your back. We're going to pick that torch up, and we're going to run with you, and make sure that this doesn't fall solely on one group, whether it be executives, coaches, players, or fans.
So well said, Donald. I could keep going with this, but Angela, do we have some questions from the group? And I want to apologize. I didn't ask you specifically any questions, but I know I saw some stuff in the chat, but it was part of the format, people. And we know Angela has lots to offer. Tony, go ahead.
I got a question for Angela. I think people want to hear from her. So being the past president of the foundation, and being a Black woman in sports where it's a true intersection, I think you face two challenges. How can you just share your experience in that? And I think when we talk about race, a lot of times we don't talk about Black women in soccer. And it's just, even now we talk about Black men. And so what are the challenges, and what do we have for people to make our flight inclusive?
Yeah. And it is interesting, because I think it's a few things, right? I think it's, when you look at, and I'll speak for myself individually, I think it's me understanding what my role is, space as a Black female. And, I have lots of categories that I feel like I represent. And where I am now in my life, I see that as a triple threat and not as three handicaps against me. And so I think even just my individual mentality and approach to how I'm being intentional about specific choices. We've talked about how representation matters, and I 100% believe that. And for me, and especially being a part of Angel City, to be able to be a Black female who's also Cuban, who's also gay. I mean, again, checking off all the boxes, and we talk about representation, but with an organization that allows me to show up fully as myself. An organization that will support me in being me and honor that and want to, use their platform to help shine a light on that. And I think for me, and this goes a little bit back to your question, Evan, at the beginning. I definitely had a specific moment in time recently after the very beginning of the protests when my family, I believe it was actually in Malibu, and we were at a traffic light and just looking around at individuals in protests and a very peaceful rally with signs. I think I saw maybe one person of color in the crowds, and my wife turned and looked at me and was about to ask me, how does this make you feel? And I was sitting there with tears streaming down my face, and I couldn't talk about it in that moment, but in the conversations after, it was because it was the first time in my life as a 42-year-old woman that I felt seen. And to have that experience and to feel like we are in this point of mobilization, I have to be extremely intentional. I can't be silent. I can't use the times that people are saying things and just let it pass over because that's just the way things are. No, we have to make things different now. We can't just accept that. And so for me, I had to get to a place of being okay with that myself and feeling like it was safe for me to have another coming out party essentially, but to be seen for the first time and to feel that, I think has helped me to be very conscious and aware of where I'm aligning and to help support others, get to positions, create other pathways in terms of everything that we're all talking about. And I think, with this initiative, with this project, that's exactly what this is. It's everyone coming together and aligning. It doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, what age you are, we are all sharing in this responsibility together.
Yeah, it's so well said. And again, this is the essence of the anti-racist project with Common Goal. It's coalition. We're all together pulling in the same direction to make this space that we love so much, the game of soccer, welcoming and inclusive, so we can all be our best selves, right? And I'm so proud and honored to have had this conversation with this group. I feel confident about the future just by listening to you all talk. And I want to encourage people who are watching to go to commongoal.org, look at the Anti-Racist Project, look how you can get involved. This week has been our call to action, and thank you, Angel City FC, for allowing us to jump onto your platform. So again, yeah, thanks for all of that. Are there questions from the viewers?
Let's get to at least one or two here if we have the time. Let's see, this one is from Ray. What are the thoughts on club fees for youth soccer and how that can preclude some from joining the sport or more competitive clubs or leagues where they may be by scouts? What can be done to change that or provide opportunities for youth with limited financial means?
Anybody want to address this? Tony, Jordan?
Yeah, I'd like to shortly answer this. Yeah, I know this is one of the few sports in the U.S. that a lot of Black kids aren't able to access just because of the price you have to pay to be able to play and be able to be a part of a team. So I think it's on organizations like the Fire and other sports organizations to fund programs and give opportunities for young kids to play for free.
I also think we need to redefine, when we play on a club team and spend millions of dollars traveling in $200 shoes, right? And you look at the rest of the world, we have to basically let people play in their backyards and identify those kids. So, now it's like, if you're not going to be varsity, I'm not going to invest in you. But kids need to play at every level just to play. And that's how we increase the size of the pyramid.
Yeah, I'll second that. I think there's two aspects to it. One is the soccer for participation. As many people playing the game as possible means we have as many people loving the game as possible. And then there's also, as Andre was a product of, identifying elite players and making sure that cost isn't a barrier for them to get into the right environments. Both of those need to be addressed, right? Because the higher volume of players that we have playing, this is the world's game because it is free. It only needs a ball, and even that you can make a ball out of a lot of different things. But then we will benefit as a soccer country from that broader foundation of players if we have better environments to filter them into.
Yeah. And
let's be honest. The talent is always getting the scholarship, right? So those good kids, they're not being held away because they can't afford it, because people will find a way to basically, pay for them to make their kids' teams better. It's the kid that's not that good yet, right? That's not getting a chance to play, because they're not going to give a scholarship to a person of color that doesn't make their team better.
Yeah, and I also would add too that there's also a lot of people playing soccer who are ignored by the status quo, gatekeepers of soccer, right? Cities like Chicago, there are a lot of different ethnic leagues. I grew up in Phoenix. There are a lot of the Mexican league teams. A lot of those players were not looked at for ODP and things like that. So again, it's on us as owners and technical directors and fans to recognize the people who are in the game, but not in the traditional sense, right?
And let me just go ahead and ask one more question. I know we're running on time here, but this one's anonymous. What contributions are you hopeful will come from expanding diversity in soccer?
Anyone want to say anything to this first? I'll start off. I mean, diversity, what is our goal for expanding diversity? It's so Angela and Jordan and Julie and Donald and Andre and myself can feel comfortable and be our best selves in that space, right? And that is the short answer to that. I want soccer to be a space where anyone can show up, feel good about themselves, and excel to the level that they want to without some sort of external limiting factor that's holding them back.
Well, and we don't have to create a world where you always have to, raise new trails, right? You don't always have to be the first, right? So if we can increase diversity and show it on the pitch, in the coaching staff, in the front office, in the supporters group, that this is something that is welcome for all and available for all and affordable for all, and hard work and excellence gets rewarded. And it's the idea that my daughter can look and see herself, and Angela's daughter can look and see herself, and
I think we lost you there a little bit at the end, but
On what she said, it's, Julie, thank you for all you're doing. I mean, realistically, in the room here, like, we're fighting for our lives, right? So, but when you have owners that are intentional, and that's the key word, are intentional about making change without what the rest of the world would see as personal gain, your gain is you're creating a better life for everybody, an environment for you. We're all just trying to survive. But when we have more owners like yourself that's setting the bar higher for the rest of the country and the rest of the world, that's how change is going to be made. So we hope that we see more leaders like you, but thank you for being one of the first to step up and create an inclusive environment for all.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to piggyback on all of this, I think diversity is about opportunity. I mean, if I didn't get an opportunity, and yes, I worked hard and I earned it, and I had parents who supported me in a lot of my decisions and helping me get to a point where I could stretch out my legs and run on my own. But if I don't get the opportunity, I'm not speaking on this panel tonight. I'm not a part of AO. I got the opportunities. And the problem is that some people just don't want to grant those opportunities. And I think diversity is not just about Black people. It's not about Latino people. It's about diversity of thought. It's about diversity of opinion. You know, what Tony may have seen on the field is not what Evan saw on the field, and vice versa. You know, the thought that we have, all of this can contribute. And even everyone out there who's listening, like, you all have something that you can contribute to this. It shouldn't be where you feel like your voice is just, you know, not important. It is important. And I mean, Rage Against the Machine has a song called Voice of the Voiceless. We're here to be the voice of the voiceless, but that doesn't mean that that we need to speak for you. We're going to give you the opportunity to speak. That's what I've done with AO. You know, even on the Capitol stand, I have a loud voice. People hear me. It's how I've gotten to a certain point, because I can be a guy who is the loudest in the stadium over an entire stadium. It's a natural gift. But because of that, I'm able to get other people to have the confidence and give them the opportunity to say, hey, this is your show. I'm with you. I've got your back. Not the other way around. And so that is the idea here, is that everyone, whether you think you know it or not, you have that diversity of thought that we're looking for. And I think that is going to help keep this momentum going. And I think you guys out there, whatever that confidence level that you may have, use it to use your voice to call for the change that we need to have, the change that we seek. Be the voice for the voiceless in your community, because you guys all have a voice that is unique and the perspective that is wanted.
The only thing I want to add to that, and all of those were terrific responses. All of us are here because of the game of soccer, football, and what we're talking about is how we do this within that game, right? Within all of our positions within the game. But the reality is, we all hope that this impacts the society that we live in every single day. And that is really, I think, the intention of the Anti-Racist Project. That's the intention of this panel here tonight, is that we are not only having these conversations, but also providing real tools to impact the society and build the society that we all want to live in. And at every turn, we're learning ways that we can do that better. That's part of this. That's what we want to get out of this, is that these exchanges of thought, ideas, conversations, relationships, and having more people with different perspectives at the table means that we can combat the things that have ailed society for years and years and years, have been built into the fabric of American society and other societies, that we can undo some of that, and that we can build a society going forward that is really representative of the way we see each other as human beings.
Well said. Perfect.
Love it. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all. Thank you, Evan, for moderating tonight's discussion. Thank you to each of you, of the panelists, for being here, for being so open, sharing your thoughts and wisdom and experiences. Thank you to everyone here who showed up to tune in and watch. And I also want to, especially given that this is the final night of ACFC Conversations, give a very special thank you to two people, Julie Ehrman on this call, again, for your leadership, for your vision, for everything that you're doing at Angel City FC. I am honored to join your lead, and also Catherine Davila, who has organized this entire week of panels and discussions on behalf of Angel City as the head of community. Thank you all. Thank you to the entire Angel City FC staff as well for everything that you have been doing to support this initiative and this week as well. So with that, we are not done yet. We want to see how Tony dances. We have a virtual dance party right now. Okay, we have a special guest. I'm not sure if we're introducing right now specifically, but are we here? Are we ready for our virtual dance party? Let's see.
Yeah, here we go.
There we go. All right. Come on, DJ, where are you? DJ Fraser Davis, let's go. Let's rock this party.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so first of all, just thank you to everybody for showing up for this amazing event. Thank you to the ARP, Common Goal, the Sane Foundation, Angel City, Chicago Fire, Oakland Roots, and really everybody who's on this call. Even in a pandemic, you did not have to be here. You could have been anywhere else in the world on Friday, and you are here today with us. So just thank you for that. And again, I think this has been said before, this is not a moment, this is a movement. So with that, we're gonna get to some other movement and some dancing. We're gonna hear from some of my favorite Black musicians, and happy Black History Month. And yeah, let me see what you got in the chat. I'm definitely gonna be checking for all of you in the video.
Go ahead, Big Cat.
Some moves. I mean, come on, some of you don't have your video on, but I see some of those moves. Okay, I see what you're putting down.